I'm creating this video for my Engineering 1332 class at Oklahoma State University, spring 2013 semester, and I'll be creating the part that was required on the Friday version of the midterm exam. That would be the pistol. And so I've already got a new part created here, but I haven't set up the units to be millimeters as stated on the drawing. So I will do that with document properties, units, millimeters, select OK off the screen, and now I'm ready to start creating the part. And the part has 5 pieces. It has a handle, a body, a barrel, a trigger, and a knob at the end of the handle. And the barrel is sort of key and central to everything, so I think I'm going to do, the body is key and central. So I'm going to do the body first. And to do that, I'm going to be doing a sketch on the right plane. And it's already got me viewing perpendicular to it. And the body is essentially a circle. And so I'm going to create a circle centered at the origin. And that circle will need a diameter of 27. And that sketch is fully defined. And I will accept it. And I will extrude it through a distance of 35. And there is at least the beginnings of the body. And now I am ready to shape the body a little bit more by fillets first of all. And I want a diameter of, or a radius of 3 on that one and on that one. And so that is now shaped. And now I'm going to cut the slots. And it turns out, just to give you a heads up, it is much easier to do the fillets first and then the slots, because if you do the slots first, the fillets start to interact with the slots in a way that's sort of a pain. So I'm going to go back and sketch on the right plane and do a sketch. And I want to view perpendicular. And the slots are synchronized starting off straight to the right. And so I'm going to create a circle. And I'm going to not snap it to anything yet. I will smart dimension its diameter to, let me find it, 2 millimeter diameter, and I'm going to have it exist center and center or horizontal, and then I'm going to convert entities there. And then I'm going to have this entity and the center become, oops, I'm done with the convert entities, I think. That and that are going to become coincident. And now I can do some trimming. And I'll trim this outer arc. And I'll trim the outer circle. And that is all fully dimensioned, should give me the part that I want. And I will exit the sketch, and I'm going to do an extruded cut. And looking at what it's pointing at, I certainly want to reverse the direction of the cut. And I'm not going to do a blind, I'm going to do a through all. And that should make that cut for me. Looks nice on both sides. I'm going to turn on temporary axes so that I can then do a revolve pattern, circular pattern, about that axis using, oops, didn't get the axis, that axis. And I've got too much stuff in there. And there are 14 of them. I think I've got that right. Let's have a look at it. Yes. Now we have all of those cuts. And I'm going to turn off temporary axes for now. There is my part. let's see, where is my right plane? And I'm ready to go to work, I think, on the handle. And so I'm going to sketch the cross section of the handle on that right plane. Let's start a sketch. And let's see. With that on the right plane, I have my arrow to the left. So let's view perpendicular one more time. It doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to sketch an ellipse. And I'm going to be a little bit, well, let's at least get the center right. An ellipse that centers there. And I'm going to pull to there, let that go vertical, let that go horizontal. Now, not everything is correct, but now we'll clean some things up. I'm going to have this point and that become coincident, and I'm going to smart dimension there and there as a diameter of 21. No, 16. Okay, and we'll move that in a little bit. And I'm going to have these 2 points become horizontal, and that turns that ellipse totally black. But I've got a little more detail to put into this thing. I'm going to create a circular cut there, 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 and there. And I'm going to dimension one of them to be of, let me find that dimension, 2 millimeter diameter. And then we're going to go with this one selected. No. The circle, the circle, the circle, and the circle, holding down Control. And I want all of them to be equal. And now I can do trim entities. There, 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 and I didn't get enough actually, because I need to get that too, and that, and through both. That gives me the cross section that I want for the handle. And so that sketch is done. And now I need to create the guiding path. And my guiding path comes from the bottom of the handle, and that'll be sketched on the front plane. So I'm going to sketch, nope, I selected the wrong sketch plane. So I'm going to go to the front plane, select it and do a sketch, and view perpendicular. And I want to be able to see where my profile sketch is. It is there. And I'm going to create a 3-point spline that goes through this point and just sort of make it an arbitrary 3-point spline at that point. Let's view perpendicular and set up some of the things that I want, including I will smart dimension, let's see, let me set up center lines. I think a center line will be helpful through the center, and horizontal, and another one just in case it's helpful through that center and vertical. And then distances that I have, oh, let's see, let's do another one through this point. center line through this point and horizontal. Okay, and then one of the things I will do is require the spline to be horizontal, and then I'm going to smart dimension from this line to this point with a vertical of 10, and this line to this point with a horizontal of 23, and then this point to that line with a horizontal of 17, and this line to that point with a vertical of 24. Okay, so that's approximately the right shape spline. Now I need to shape it properly by taking this handle and forcing it to be vertical, and accept that, and take this handle, and I'm going to draw it bigger and just pull it out a little bit and have this angle between here and a horizontal become, oh, I need the smart dimension between there and that line will give me an angle of 57 degrees, and spline tensions of 25. Okay, that is all black. I've got the angle right. I've got all the points dimensioned. That looks like the appropriate guide path for that spline. Or for the sweep, I will accept that. I've got sketch 4, sketch 3, and let's see, where is it? Oh, I didn't accept my sketch yet. Oops. Okay, now I have the sketch accepted. Select that one as well. Swept boss base, and that looks perfect. And now I've got the handle on the gun. Now I'm going to work on the knob at the end. There's a couple of different ways to do that. I will sketch on this plane. I will do a sketch, and I'll probably go ahead and do it 2 different ways. Let's zoom in on it and view perpendicular, and then zoom in a touch. And I'm going to click on this entire surface and say offset entities by an amount 3, and accept that. And that gives me the ellipse that I need to then extrude toward me, this knob on the end of the handle, and then I can round it off with fillets. Let me undo this, and if I had instead, with nothing selected, said offset entities, and if I had selected these, they're not really fitting together. But if I do select eventually just the entire surface, they fit together better. But another way to do it, if I can't make the offset entities work, and let's see, this looks like I may still have one there, and I'm not sure. Okay, that appears to, that was just an artifact left over from the drawing of the picture. The other way, of course, is just to recognize that I've got an ellipse that is centered at the same center point. See if I can find that center. I can't, so what I'm going to do, let's try putting a point on here. You know, points don't stick very well. Let's go with center lines. So I'm going to come over here and do a center line that goes horizontal. And then I will come over here and I want to do a center line that passes, okay, through the center of this arc. And that showed up just a second ago. That'll work fine. Top of that arc to the top of that arc. Didn't get my center line, but I got my strategy right. So top of that arc to the top of that arc. Okay. And now I should be able to create an ellipse, which is at the intersection of those two lines. And I'll pull out toward the major dimension first. And then I'll pull out toward the minor dimension, and I won't even make it look right. And then I'll go dimension those things. Smart dimension major is going to be the, let's see, where was the other one? It was 16 by 21. And with a 3 offset, the 21 is going to become a 27. And the 16 is going to become a 22. And that gives me an ellipse, which is aligned with this ellipse with an offset of 3. So either using offset entities or just recreating the ellipse, either one is fine. Now it is blue, wouldn't you know it? So what is able to move is the question. That's something, okay, somehow it just didn't stick. So I'm going to select that point and my center line, and I will make them coincident. And now everything is black. I thought I'd made them coincident before. I have trouble making them stick apparently. So that's acceptable. And now I'm going to do an extrude a dimension of 6. And that's acceptable. And then I'm going to take that edge and that edge and place a fillet. Still waiting. Of size 3. It really should be happy with that, so let's see what happens. It's just taken a very long time. Says it can't do it. So we're going to try this differently with nothing selected. We're going to go into fillet, and I'm going to create it too small at first. Let's just go with the 2 on that edge, and it shows it. And then on that edge, and it shows it, and it previews it just fine. Now let me go to a 3. And when I've created this part before, it never had a problem with this. It's saying it can't do it. I'm going to cheat. I do want constant radius. We're going to X out of this. I don't really understand why this fillet isn't working. We'll go fillet. This, how about that edge? It doesn't like that any better. It's just thinking and thinking. fillet that edge, no sweat, to make it a 3. I'm going to accept it. And then, looking at this one, I guess the fillet is going into these surfaces just a little bit, and it really was never a problem before. So let's try it again. Fillet of 3 of that edge. Okay, it's doing it this time, I think. For some reason, it just didn't like doing them together, but so be it. So there's the knob, there's the body. Now we have the barrel and the trigger left. Let's go work on the barrel next, and I'm going to do a sketch that is going to be on the front plane. And I'm going to view perpendicular. And I'm going to create a center line that runs through the origin and extends horizontal a significant distance. There is that center line. I'm going to do another center line which extends from the face. Looks like it's not going to snap there, so I'll just let it go from the center and extend vertical. So there is that center line, and now I'm going to create a sketch which is going to be a line, a horizontal line, and a vertical line, and I'm going to call it quits there, and put a spline that goes from this vertex to that vertex. Now let's dimension things up a little bit, and I want from there to axis. If I put it on this side, I get a radius. On this side, I get a diameter of 12. And I'm going to put dimension from this point to that same axis. And that dimension was 21. And then from here to the axis was 40. And the length of this line, let's try that again. Okay, length of that line is 84. Okay, and now everything is fully defined, but I need to shape the spline, and so clicking on it, this is clearly horizontal, and this one has an angle at the other end of 23 degrees. So we'll pull it out and click on, let's see, Smart Dimension, there to there of 23 degrees. And my spline tensions are 80 at both ends. And there is my barrel profile, ready to be revolved. Everything is defined. I'll accept that sketch and do a revolved boss base. And my axis is there, and that has got it. I accept it. And there is my barrel. No enhancements needed there. And now I'm ready to work on the trigger. And so I'm going to do a sketch on the front plane. Front plane. I will view perpendicular. and I'm going to need to create some reference lines. I will create a center line that goes through the origin and down, and I'll create one that goes, well, I need a horizontal, probably not, so let's just go with that for now. And then I'm going to create just two sort of random splines, and I'm going to go from, I could go from either of those two. It'll look just a touch nicer if I go from the higher line and create a spline. That's enough. And then another spline, same line there and there. So I've got two splines. I need to locate them and shape them. And first of all, I will smart dimension this point to that line of 7, and this point to that line of 17, and this point to that line of 18.5. Okay, and then let's go ahead and move this point, and let's draw the line that connects them. And then so these, let's see, do I have a horizontal dimension? To there, that looks vertical. Probably. Okay, and we'll stretch this out a little bit to work with that later. This line has an angle to that line of 35 degrees. And let's see, I think we've got everything in place. Now let's just go, let's see, we want to set the tensions. All spline tensions are 20. 20. 20. 20. And 20. And now with that, I'll just shape these angles to look about right. That one needs to look about perpendicular, and this one will come on into there, and this one will come on in very close to perpendicular, and those look pretty good. I think we'll call that an acceptable trigger. Not everything's dimension, but I gave you some latitude in this one, and so I will accept that, and I will do an extrude boss base of double-sided and 4, and that should create the trigger. Rebuild. I know what I need. I didn't close my sketch. Right click on it and create a line that goes there to there, and now I'll accept my sketch, and now I will extrude it, and it doesn't know what to extrude, so I'll go grab my sketch from here, and we'll do a midplane of 4, and let's rotate out, and that looks wonderful, and so I will accept that feature, and should have gotten this out of the way a while back, and there is something sort of gun-like. Everything put together. This one is done.